Ready as I'll.
Okay, Johnny here, Ben's son. Oh, I should maybe rename those, but oh well, too late now. Um, he was reading a book by Anthony Larsen that I gave him. This is my copy. And there shall be a new heaven and a new earth. And he had a couple questions. As you can see, I have some notes. Oh, actually, since I saw it, let me see if I can see it again before. Okay, I'm going to pause 1 second. Okay,
Huh.
so I flipped it. This is the Philo Dibble document. Okay, so I'm sidetracking from Johnny's question just for a moment. This is a document that Joseph Smith drew for his bodyguard at the time, Philo Dibble. Okay, and you got the moon, the sun, A, B, and C. Okay, so A is the Earth. B
Yeah.
are the planets at the North Pole, and C are the planets at the South Pole, and the moon goes around the Earth. Hence,
So
A is Earth, as I said. Go ahead.
all of the Earth, when all of the planets are in the polar configuration, what happens is it's an electrical. There's an electrical current that passes.
Yes, and that deals what I will call the renewed heaven and renewed earth to go more with modern English, because people forget that new does mean renewed. Now, the other thing, this angle here is 22 and a half. That's not the current angle of the Earth's axis right now, but science does show that magnetic north has been at different places, which goes along how the angle has been different at different times. Okay.
And it actually does point towards a confirmation of a catastrophist theory with regards to things to the Earth's history.
Yes. Now, Ben, for those who are not familiar with that term, can you show what is taught in mainstreams and then contrast them for us real quick?
Okay, so the mainstream thought is that generally life has just kind of slowly progressed from and the things on earth have just kind of slowly progressed from one thing to the next thing to the next thing in a generally orderly manner, which has been punctuated, which they have had to punctuate with catastrophes in order to make it work. The catastrophist point of view is that catastrophe is actually the norm, and that the way that we're living now, wherein things haven't been terribly catastrophic for the last, oh,
4,000 years.
well, no, I wouldn't go that far back, but it's
Yeah,
been,
pretty well. Yes and no. So
yeah, yeah, it's a little bit touchy there.
yeah, it's a little mix there. Yes and no.
This is abnormal. This state of constantly largely remaining the same, uniform, monotonous, is abnormal. Catastrophe is the norm.
Yes. And I forget the verse, but Peter brings out how people will forget how things were in the past.
Yeah.
I'm not. That's kind of a side point here. Now, one thing, just to go back to that 50 Dibble document, I do want to share something. Actually, probably a couple pictures, but I'll start with this one. Okay. So this in the center is the LDS Conference Center with some pictures overlaid on it that are then duplicated on each side. Okay. So there's the Bible Dibble document that's in the New Heaven and New Earth, which I would prefer to say in today's language, renewed heaven and renewed earth. Okay.
Yes. I believe that
There's
it's half the planets are on the North Pole and half are on the South.
Yes, I do agree that the three that I tend to focus on, and those who are in this subject focus on, are Saturn, Venus, and Mars. But there's also Jupiter up there. Okay.
Doesn't
Uh,
Yeah,
that play a crucial role in the polar configuration as well?
uh, the sun gives light.
yeah. So the sun's right here. It's not part of the polar configuration. See how it's not at the poles? So. The Earth, which is A, goes around the sun. The Moon goes around A, which is the Earth, and then there's planets at the North Pole, and then planets at the South Pole.
And
Okay.
the South Pole would be the South Pole would be Saturn, which is
No, South Pole's not Saturn.
oh, that's Earth. Is that Venus and Mars?
Yeah, so A is Earth, and what I would say is B, because look at
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Mars and
well,
Saturn are together. Mars and
the
Saturn.
planar. Here's the planar with the moon and the sun and the A Earth. B is going to be Jupiter, which is not focused upon, but then Saturn, Venus, and Mars, and then C is the leftover planets. Okay.
Yeah, yeah. Jupiter, Saturn, Venus, and Mars. Yeah, because they all have to be together, or else the Heaven Man doesn't form.
Yeah, the Heaven Man is primarily uh, Saturn, Venus, and Mars, but the footstool is Earth, aka. So there is four, and you'll even see that in Ezekiel 1 also.
So
Okay.
every time in the scriptures, when you read about the Earth is His footstool, you are reading about the polar configuration.
Yes, and it's going to be coming back during the wrath or the seventh seal from the book of Revelations. It's talked about in other places, including the D&C and Daniel, and just throughout the scriptures, that it is, since it's forgotten history, it's hard to know what's going on. I
Now,
have a piece
I
I
do
need to
want
finish that focuses it from Daniel 2 and the D&C and some Revelations. So.
Now, I do want to point out that the polar configuration is a key to understanding last days prophecy.
Yeah, I agree. So on this point, though, if Ben's done with that point, I want to
Yeah.
add.
Well, the main reason why I want to say it's a key is because it's not the only key.
Yeah, and I will add, it's not the most important key. Okay. The most important key is being right with Yah, as in coming under His covering and returning to His Torah, repenting, and then helping others do the same.
Yeah.
The Really, the only person that needs to worry about this is the coming mighty and strong one, because he's going to be calling it back as prophesied throughout the scriptures. Okay. Which is what's going to cause the wrath. And like wormwood, the mountain, the planet, the comet, there's a lot of names for it. The stone.
Cut
uh,
out of mountain without hands.
yeah, because it was called forth by priesthood.
The reason why this cannot be a church, because no church grows without hands at work.
Yeah, and I know there's a quote that attributes that to Joseph Smith. I actually don't believe that quote is valid anymore. Um, Anyways, that's another subject. Let me show a picture of the conference center. Is it this one? Yeah, okay. So here is a satellite picture of the conference center. Okay. So, uh, and it's got a little picture of this on the side. Okay. So you can see the Philo Dibble. One, two, three. If you go on the roof, these first two top circles, it looks ugly at the garden that's on the roof, and nobody knows what to say about them. I do, but it's because it's the Philo Dibble. Okay.
Yeah.
And then this one right here, the blue one, is the water fountain. I'll do a picture of that in a minute. And then here is that plasma from Mars going down on a triangle.
That is what is generally in mythology referred to as the heaven man.
The whole thing, not just the Mars part, yes, but the whole thing.
Yeah.
Now here it's a little harder to see because of where the crescent is. It's at midnight. I know that sounds weird, but the way that the crescent worked to keep track of time is different than the modern Greek clock. Okay. For one, it's counterclockwise. So that's why it talks about in Egyptian old text about the crescent going backwards. And this is one thing that Egyptologists do not translate correctly because they don't know what to do with it. Okay. But you'll see here, you'll have the blue, the water fountain in the middle, and the four main streams. You'll see that right there. Okay. And the crescent here is almost midnight and going to the point how it's almost the second coming. Okay. Now, if it was at exact midnight, here, I'm going to show me it would the crescent would be like this, okay? And actually, this is how you're supposed to pray. I'm not going to get into that, okay?
The crescent is used on the jihad flags on all the Arabic nations.
Yeah,
no, that is of the moon.
That's not the right crescent.
That's the crescent on the moon, not of the polar configuration.
Yeah, that's not
Just-
the right.
Oh, the crescent. I mean to say the crescent moon.
Yeah, but the crescent.
Yeah, so I didn't know you meant well, but it's so here's a picture as Ben was talking about.
Mhm.
Here's the heaven man. You see here with the arms or the wings.
Crescent has to do with Saturn.
Well, it's actually on all three.
Yeah, I was oversimplifying.
Yeah, but on the heaven man, it's only on Saturn, but on different configurations, it's on multiple of them, which actually the book of Revelations does have one that deals where it's on all three. Okay.
Yeah.
And it's the 24 elders, which although I do believe it points to the polar configuration, it also points to how 24 does deal with governance and also how there's 12 apostles from the old world and 12 apostles from the new. So, but that's another subject, okay? But before we get started, let me do one quick video, and then I want to say a little side thing, and then we'll get into Johnny's specific questions, okay? So I will put a link to this, but I have a polar configuration link. And on there at the top, I have this video that we're going to watch.
That is in this.
Okay, I do think Ben wanted to say something.
That thing was that as you read the video is playing from that perspective, you can see how people were watching it, and it's a call it a comment.
Oh, so yes, but this also goes along with how the words comet and planet in ancient terminology were used interchangeably.
That's true.
And that gets into a big subject, and I
Yeah,
probably not.
that's a different topic entirely.
Well, it's related, but it's more technical
It's
details.
off to the side.
And look, and while I was
And we're trying. What the question being posed is, what is the new heaven and the new earth, and how does the polar configuration play into that? And so we want to try to avoid necessarily technical descriptions.
Sure, sure. And we'll get into that. The one thing I do want to bring out, though, is um, something related to that, and it's more related to what's going on in Zion, but it does relate to the renewed heaven and renewed earth. Okay. And then we'll get into those questions from Johnny. But the Book of Revelations brings out how the roads, or I think better translation, paths in heaven are made out of gold.
as the comet approached, it looked like it's something from a distance. It looked like it was actually pretty. From a distance.
Yeah, it would look pretty, but I don't believe that is the focus. Okay. So gold has to do with sanctification.
Oh, gold.
Yes.
Gold.
And the path of sanctification is Torah, which goes along with how Torah is what's going to unite people in Zion in the millennium.
Yeah. I mean, we see how universally the world rejects actual Torah today. And not the made up commandments of men that they call Torah, but the actual Torah is.
Well, AK, just so people know what Ben's getting at is a lot of people claim that the oral Torah or the false traditions of men that Yeshua actually stated makes Torah null and void is not Torah, despite what people claim.
So with that, the with the almost universal rejection of actual Torah, especially when you consider that Torah is the revealed mind and will of Yeshua, which did not stop with Moses.
No, I mean, we have, even if you think there's no more past the New Testament, there was more being revealed during the Old Testament and then more during the New Testament.
What
But
Torah means,
I'll tell you, the New Testament prophesies of more coming. So,
Torah means instruction and way. And so if people aren't getting it right, they need more instruction, right?
well, we all need more instruction. Okay, I'm being technical, Timmy here. Okay.
I'm just trying to keep it simple here.
Well, yeah, and I'm being
I
technical,
do
Timmy.
realize that we all need instruction, but generally, as a group, humanity has not gotten his ways right.
Yeah, so on that, what Ben's bringing out, it goes along with Alma 12:9 through 11, among other places, that if you're not keeping what you have, you're going to lose and not get more.
But those who are trying to keep what they have will receive more light. So more Torah is given.
Correct. And in fact, we did a recording recently from the DNC talking about the restoration, why they weren't giving more is because they weren't keeping what they were given.
Right. And so when we see how disunified the world is and how everybody universally rejects Torah, oh, wait a minute, what if we accepted Torah? Wouldn't that have the opposite effect?
Yeah.
Right.
And
So I just want to kind of keep it on that level here with Torah, to keep it on the simple logical level. The simple logic level, where you're rejecting it, everybody's going their own way. If you accept it, wouldn't you unify? If it was accepted, wouldn't it unify people?
Yeah, well, if you all agree on what Yahweh wants us to do instead of trying to force your own opinions upon people. Yeah, it would be because Yahweh is the standard. Everybody claims that they want to do what Yahweh would do. But when it actually comes down to it in this world, when you try to share what he actually did and that we should do it, even to those of people who claim they want to be like Yeshua, they hate it.
Right. So
Um,
get back. I'll let you get back to your thing.
sure. So, um, the reason I brought the polar configuration related to the renewed earth and the renewed heaven, and I'm saying it renewed on purpose, is because they used to be at the poles, and has been brought out that causes electrical current to happen. This electrical current actually causes plants to grow more abundantly. It causes plants to grow and their fruit to grow bigger. In
It,
fact,
it also decreases disease in humans.
yes, and along those lines, they even use this technique of more electrical pulsing into humans when other techniques that's more profitable um, aren't doing what they're supposed to. And there's a lot of science on this. Including a lot of science on doing electrical current with plants, including putting copper rods into the ground next to the plants to get that electrical current flowing to get the plants to grow more. I've never said this before, but an unfinished post I hope to finish soon, uh, titled "What Was It," that deals with this in the Millennium, actually. Um, this renewed heaven and renewed earth, a lot of the prophecies that go along with it, including older age, living to the age of a tree, like an Adam, almost 1,000 years, deals with this electrical current that modern medical science knows about, but they don't like to use because it's not so profitable. Heals people. And I've had family members actually have electrical pulses used on them for certain parts of the body to get them healed better and quicker because other techniques did not work. So they leave it as a last resort. And they say it's experimental. I mean, whatever. It's because it's less profitable.
Yeah, it's the only it's more it's actually more effective. And if people would employ it first rather than last, we'd see an immense decrease in a lot of diseases.
Yeah, and hence, that in the millennium, people won't get sick because it's the electronic universe model actually has a lot of science that supports this and actually is predicts things better than the standard model, but the standard model has a lot of things based off of the occult Kabbalah, okay, and it just does not work. Where electronic universe model actually has things that does work, and it actually helps explain a lot of the prophecies in or about the millennium and the second coming events, actually, on top of that, and some weird quotes from Joseph Smith that makes it all unify, and with the understanding that the heaven's going to be renewed. And I can show that from Daniel, including the so-called witchcraft, not without hands, because he just speaks it. Because in Daniel 2, it actually says witchcraft without using hands.
Right. And the yeah, the thing is that the renewal of the polar configurations is not just the renewal of heaven, it's also the renewal of earth.
Yes, in causing the electronic current to happen to make plant life better and human life better. Okay. And some of these quotes I think we're going to look at here deals with how almost all, if not all, societies have this idea of what they call the golden age. Okay. Now, uh, both sides use this imagery of golden. Okay. Now, as I mentioned, on the good side, the golden roads or paths goes along with sanctified, which means you're keeping Torah. Okay. On the wicked side, it's Mystery Babylon, hence the head of gold is Babylon from Nebuchadnezzar's dream from Daniel 2.
And
Nebuchadnezzar.
you'll see a lot of Babylonic misconceptions as we read through the descriptions of the Greeks and the Romans and the Chinese of this golden age. Also, I want to point out that when Trump was elected, he promised to bring in the golden age.
Yeah, and so it's not the golden age of America as he claimed. It's really the golden age is Babylon, Mystery Babylon. Trump is using keywords and putting hiding things in plain sight. For those who are not initiated, so to speak,
He
will
used the
not
word that I
catch it.
use all the time.
Golden age.
Yeah, that because that's I tend to refer to those who do not know the secrets as uninitiated because largely most of the people who know the secrets are initiated.
Yeah, the majority. So I will admit I am an ex-Mason. I believe some quotes about Joseph Smith that I currently do not believe are authentic. That's not the time to discuss that, but I will say just quickly the myths about Joseph Smith joining goes against actual Mason rules, and I'll leave it at that. Um, but both sides have this idea of a golden age. Uh, um, and they're both mainly pointing to a better time. Now, they will disagree on how it will happen in some of the details, right?
Because first we're
Um,
going to go through the mythologies and then we're going to be going to the scriptures. And
well, we'll go with the quotes and we'll go from there, okay? But the quotes about from the scriptures from the Millennium all talk about these wonderful things, as in better farming, more food, people not dying and living to the age of a tree. It's because of this electrical environment that when the planets come back to the poles, that this will cause that modern science on both plants and humans have shown to make us healthier and live longer and produce more.
To put it really simply, it's ideal for life.
Yeah, it is. And it went away because of our sins. Hence, the consequence of sin is death. It will be coming back because all things, aka Torah, is going to be restored and the majority of the people will keep it. Hence Zion, and so it will be brought back as a reward. Um,
Of course, its return will also be a judgment upon the wicked.
yes, on that point, the righteous, as this is happening through 6 moons, which is the length of the wrath or the seventh seal, um, will be going through hell, basically. Now, a lot of them, most of them will die, but not all of them, and that's why the mighty strong one, after the wrath, will go be a missionary to bring them to Yahweh's ways. In fact, it's stated how he'll go to the kings and queens, and they'll start to rise up or be sanctified, as in the wake, starting to see the problem and arise, actually keeping Torah, to stand up straight.
Mhm.
That's sanctification. Awakening is justification. Okay. Um, So,
Yeah, it's not just figuring out that it's not just figuring out that there's a problem in Kansas.
well, yeah, I mean, just talking about the problem is, I mean, I guess you can kind of see that waking up, but it's not justification. The real waking up is starting to do something. Because in
That is
Hebrew
actually
thought, it's functional. You listen and obey,
right.
meaning you do something about it. It's not like the Greek ideas, it's just information.
Well, it's kind of like if someone told me that there was going to be an earthquake directly under my house and I didn't do anything and say I even believed him but didn't do anything about it. I'm sleeping on it.
Yeah, you're sleeping, or as in you're dead. You're not acting.
Right.
I the ways of thought of the Greeks and the Hebrews are different. And a lot of people try to force Greek thought upon Hebrew scriptures and they get very confused. So, so with that in mind, I do think Johnny, I'll share the quotes and you can read where it's the most convenient for you. So let me share the picture. I'm hoping this is the first page. Let me double check. Yeah, yeah. So I believe this is where we're talking about the golden age here, or the age of Kronos. So just because before we start going, the age of Kronos, Kronos is Saturn, okay?
Yes.
And Saturn has positive imagery to it and negative imagery. Now, I will explain one real quick. Kronos has to do with time. And the reason why is that crescent we looked at earlier went around Saturn counterclockwise, and that was keeping the time of day. And it
Yeah.
was a 24-hour clock. Okay. Just when you see how the polar configuration is, it would take the where the sun was shining to get the crescent and the earth to turn all the way around to get the crescent in the same spot again. That was your 24-hour day in Greek thought. Okay.
And because most people aren't aware that the Greeks kept time by Saturn, they often these references to the crescent and midnight and these time references often are misunderstood.
So the
What
Greeks and the Egyptians used the imagery, but they were late enough in time they weren't actually using Saturn. Okay. But the this idea of Saturn keeping track of time has stayed with society, and it's Kronos, the grandfather clock. I mean, you go look at the clock. Look, there's a circle at the top and the circle at the bottom. That doesn't look like anything we saw before. And the red and the most traditional is it's red.
yeah,
That's not plasma from Mars that went down. Oh wait, yeah, it is. Um, I there's so many connections. I know this sounds really freaky weird. That's fine. New ideas do. Okay.
especially when they are especially the polar configuration is not known by the vast majority of humanity.
No, it's
Nor
not.
is nor is the catastrophist model the mainstream.
No.
The catastrophist model of Earth history and polar configuration and knowledge of the polar configuration actually go hand in hand.
Yeah. In fact, even when they used to call the planets gods goes along with the heaven man. There's a lot of connections here, but we're getting sidetracked. Let's try to go back to Johnny. But I did see Kronos, and I did want to explain that Saturn. And the reason they're using Saturn is because in the ancient days, before the Greeks and the Egyptians, which they carried the tradition forward, not always completely understanding it. Um, is because the crescent on Saturn that turned counterclockwise because of the way the Earth turned. Okay.
Okay, so do you want to read that quote, Johnny?
Yes. And this first quote is written by Herodotus.
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 Yeah.
Herodotus. First, the immortal dwellers on uh, uh,
Olympus.
Olympus
On Olympus, yes.
forged a golden race of men who lived in the time when Kronos was king in heaven.
Okay, all right. Go ahead, Ben.
So a golden race of men. So here again, we're playing with this idea of gold. We start playing with this idea of gold created by and it's created by the gods of Mount Olympus. Um,
So Mount Olympus is the mount that's created with Mars and the plasma, okay? And the golden race of men. Now, depending on what side you want to look at this on, this is either the sanctified or the top followers of Satan, as in Mystery Babylon, okay?
and
Um,
given that this is coming from Herodotus, but we'll go on. We'll go on.
Oh yeah. Well, I'm just putting it out there. And lived in the time of Kronos was king in heaven. So heaven is what you see when you look up into the sky, okay? And it was king because it was the biggest planet you saw in either in the northern hemisphere. Jupiter is bigger than Saturn, but because of where it was in the placement and distance above Saturn,
It
it
looks
was
small.
not really seen. Okay.
Distance makes a lot of things look smaller.
Yes. You don't believe me? Go look at a mountain from your car.
Yeah.
So it looks smaller than the tree that's next door to you. Anyways, but it was king because it was the biggest. Okay.
Okay. So Kronos was king in heaven. Starting from there.
They lived like gods.
Okay, I want to bring out that in the pagan worlds, these planets are the gods. Mars is a god, actually. They actually say Mars is a god in some of the cultures.
Yeah. Yeah, and depending on whether you're Greek or Roman, you're going to hear Mars, or you're going to hear Aries, which is a sign of the zodiac, which Mars is predominant in.
Yeah, which is just another way of saying Mars. I'm sorry. It just is. Okay, go on.
And their souls knew nothing, knew neither sorrow nor toil.
Okay, so this goes along with how when they were where they were supposed to be, it goes along with the prophecies of the millennium.
Mhm.
The big sorrow has to do with babies dying early. And there's prophecies of the mothers not having to worry about that in the millennium. It's because of the better environment and creating better and more healthy humans and hence mothers to birth. Okay.
Yeah. Yes.
Nor toil is the hard work of getting vegetables from the ground.
Yes, when the polar configuration is back in place, growing your food will be a lot less work. It will not require nearly the constant supervision that it requires now.
Yeah, including a lot better than putting those metal rods next to plants that people do who study. I'm forgetting what the term of it is right now, but where they're using the electrical environment to create better plant growth and fruits. Forgetting the name right now. Sorry. You can, if nothing else, you can tell I didn't prepare. So, okay, go on, Johnny.
I did some of that. And,
Anyway,
No, that's fine, Johnny. Because you had the question. It's obvious that you did some preparing. That's fine.
continue.
Okay, neither were.
neither were they subject to age.
Oh, like living to the age of a tree, as
Yeah.
in to give or take 1,000 years. Go ahead.
Well,
But every but ever the same in hand and foot.
Okay, so in the same in hand and foot. So let's look at the symbolism of hand is works and foot is path or is in the law. Okay.
here's
So
here's an interesting thing. This is very similar to the way that Moses is described as he's taken up to receive to receive a vision of the land of promise, that his strength had not that his eyesight had not failed, nor had his natural strength abated.
that which goes along with the electronic environment and how it helps the body heal.
Mhm.
Okay. But uh but ever the same in works and law, which goes along how they are unified and during Zion and the Millennium. Okay, go on, Johnny.
They spent their time in luxury.
Leisure.
They spent their time in leisure apart from evil.
Okay, so their life is easier, right? Leisure. They had more relaxing time because of how much easier it was to do the farming because it just grew better, right?
So I'm going to point out that this is written by a Greek, so their definition of evil, the definition of evil that he's using here is actually very important. And what he's talking about is simply sorrow.
Oh, okay. I wouldn't have caught that, but I see that playing both in the prophecy, either wickedness or sorrow, as in the prophecy of the millennium, right?
Yeah.
They both play into that. So I don't know the philosopher Greek mind that well. Ben knows that very better than I do. Um, but either way, it fits, right? So
Yep.
you can see here, although this is not scriptural canon, they're pointing to the same thing when you know how to read behind the lines, right? Or I'm doing this more to make fun. Read the white space.
Yeah.
Anyways, sorry, that was probably not very nice of me, but anyways. Okay, go on, Johnny, the bounteous.
The bounteous earth bore fruit for them of her own will.
Oh, look, they didn't have to put any effort. That sounds like the Garden of Eden,
Doesn't it?
Yeah.
which had the polar configuration causing this electrical environment to have the plants just do stuff. There is no desert anymore. Okay. Okay, go ahead, Johnny.
In plenty and without strength.
It's stint. But in plenty means a lot. Ben, you want to define stint for us, or I can go to the dictionary.
This is basically that's basically it's basically without restraint.
Yeah, okay. So it's overflowing.
Right.
Yeah, and that goes along with the prophecies of the millennium, which also points back, and the millennium follows the Garden of Eden, to be honest, okay? Because it's a return, a renewed heaven and a renewed earth.
This is one of those places where you can cite one of the articles of faith. We believe that the earth will be renewed and receive its paradisiacal glory.
Correct. Um, so okay, Johnny, they lived.
They lived in peace and
Okay, wait a minute. What causes peace?
Torah.
Yeah, living Torah, because Torah tells us how we are to interact with Yahweh, our neighbors, and ourselves.
Yep.
Now, everybody actually wants people to live or act according to Torah towards them. In today's world, they think they're the exception and they don't have to keep it towards others or themselves. But they want everybody to keep it with regard to them. Okay. Showing they actually, it is written on our hearts, as Yahweh states in, or Yahweh through Mormon in Moroni 7,
But at
right?
the same time, the fact that it's written on our rebellious and natural hearts damns us.
Well, yeah, because it shows that we know what is right, even though we choose not to keep it.
Mhm.
Okay, go ahead and quiet.
and quiet in their lands.
Okay, real quick. Quiet in their lands means no more war. The loudness or the busyness or the planning, the roaring has to do with wars. Okay.
Their lands indicates inheritance.
But yes, but even more here with I think with the quietness, it goes more how people aren't fighting for their lands.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, part of the reason why the noisiness goes with warring is because of the shofar that goes along with war, which was heard in heaven. And a lot of imagery for war actually goes along with the polar configuration because it was fearful. People feared when these planets moved because they knew when they moved, it caused fire and brimstone. Sounds like second coming. Yeah, it is.
If you've ever been in the vicinity of a meteor as it comes down to Earth, it sounds like a shofar blast, long and loud. As
Yeah,
it
it's part of the reason why it's a war cry, to be honest, because it sounds like that.
And I think you hear a little bit of those sounds with Walking with Dinosaurs with the Triceratopsians. But anyway, that's a sidetrack.
That's more speculation. So we'll
yeah,
leave that.
everything with regards to dinosaurs is pure speculation.
Yeah, so I do believe in dinosaurs. I don't believe the theories that go along with them. Since Johnny brought it up, I'll just say this: with the electrical environment, the animals can grow to be larger.
They can grow much larger.
Um,
And it's, and I will also say this, there are many people who believe that the skeletal models are put together wrong.
I wouldn't doubt that. And in addition, you never find, no one gets famous for finding baby dinosaurs.
Right.
So they always come up with new ones. So there's a lot of interesting politics and finagling that goes on, right? But anyways, um, they live quite with many good things. It just goes along how there's going to be abundance, right?
With many good things, rich in flocks and dear to the blessed gods.
Okay, rich in flocks, that goes with sheep, followers.
Yep.
This actually goes along how the majority are going to follow Yahweh in the millennium. Okay. Rich in followers and blessed Elohim. As in, people are going to praise Elohim and give him reverence during the millennium. Okay.
Yep.
Now,
Well,
I do understand this is not canon here, but once we kind of know a lot of the imagery and history, you can see how the idea of the millennium has survived through all civilizations. Well, it's
So what
because, wait a minute,
is,
let me, one last sentence. Noah.
yeah.
Noah taught it to all. Okay, go ahead, Ben.
Yeah. So what Herodotus is writing about is a reflection on an age past that nobody can remember at that point. But that reflection on an age past indicates that there was a time when this polar configuration was there and life was easier. And it's a point forward to when it returns.
Yes, there you the in Hebrew prophecy and ancient Greek, because they used to follow this, but they deviated from it. They use the past to tell you the future.
Yep.
Okay, Johnny, can you read your next quote? That's a really weird word. Meta, I don't know.
What do you-
Can you say it first?
Let's see here.
Yeah, the Morpheus? Is that
Yeah,
what it is?
yes, the Metamorphosis.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
Oh dear.
or the Metamorphoses. This
Oh, okay.
talking about metamorphosis literally means change,
Yeah, yeah.
transformation.
From
Well,
what?
and then I think it's meta is the stuff behind the scenes to keep it simple, and Morpheus is the change.
Yes.
Hence, I will just say this real quick. The Matrix, Morpheus, the Jesuits are trying to cause the change.
Yes.
So, anyways, just to bring up some Gnostic fun movie ideas. But anyways, go ahead and read the quote there, Johnny.
Odiad here.
Ovid.
This is Obed here.
Yes.
The first millennium was the age of gold.
Okay, so this goes along with the Garden of Eden. It fell because Adam partook of the forbidden fruit, aka sin. Okay, because fruit goes with works.
Yeah.
There's good works and bad works according to Torah, as in righteousness or sinning. This golden age shows how people were living longer and easier to live back then. Okay, which everybody wants to get back to. Okay.
Go on.
Then living creatures trusted one another.
Okay, so these living creatures, in where this is used in the scriptures, this has to do with the natural man. Okay. Because when you're acting like a creature, you're following your impulses from your natural man and not using Yahweh's law to bridle in your passions.
So
Okay, as Alma put it to his son.
it is the Greek mindset that has us believing that no animal ate another animal.
Yeah, and that's not good. The reason why Noah knew about the how to pick seven clean animals or seven clean pair of animals and two of the others is because he knew what a clean animal was because he were eating it.
Right.
It wasn't new. It was just not really focused on. And the JST or New Translation Inspired Version shows that too. And just FYI, there's kosher plants too, but that's another side subject. Sorry.
Yeah. Go on.
People did well without the thought of ill.
Oh, so this goes along with that electronic environment that we've talked about, how it keeps people from being sick. Okay.
But here's the thought of ill. When he's talking about the thought of ill, it's without ill will. They did well without ill will towards each other.
Oh, it's not the health issue then. Okay.
So this is
Okay.
that people did well by each other without thinking of how to take advantage of one another.
Yeah, which that would go along with keeping Torah, right?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you for that clarification there, Ben. Okay, go on, Johnny.
Nothing forbidden in the book of laws.
So the way I would take that is people didn't want what was forbidden in the Book of Laws.
Right. Now, I recognize this as Babylonic twisting because even if it's from the Greek, it's Babylonic because the Greek philosophers learned from the Babylonians, from the
Right.
Babylonians. So this is a Babylonic twist. They're saying that it's the law that caused the problem when technically it's only the lack of desire to break the law that kept there from being problems.
Okay, I can see what Ben's saying, but just the fact that there's laws shows that there's something forbidden. So there's a
Yeah.
little logic error in the way the Babylons thought, hence their problems.
Right. Well, Babylon's thoughts always have problems with basic logic.
Such just if anything and everything
do try
goes.
to I do try to interpret them for people, but it gives me a headache.
Sure, because it's really messed up. But anyways, it is good to where Ben's a little more educated in that area than I am. So it's good to have that background there. So anyways, go on and read the next line there, Johnny.
No fears, no prohibitions,
No prohibition.
Invitation.
no prohibitions.
So you see that Babylonic twist. It's actually an inversion where it's making good evil and evil good.
Yes, which goes along with the Gnostics or Gnosticism, right?
Yeah. Well, the Gnostics are a very that's a big time thing in their a big time stick in their thing, but it's also in paganism. It's also in it's everywhere.
Oh yeah, yeah. I agree with Ben on that. It's just
The fact that
it's the one term I like to use for it.
the
But
fact
yeah.
that Satan rules in this world is an inversion.
Yes, completely agree with that.
So it's really satanic, honestly. It's not just Gnostic, though that's a nice shorthand.
Yes. Yeah.
So I'll leave it at that.
Yeah, and the bronze has to do with weakness.
Yeah.
It's one of the weaker metals, just FYI. But anyways. But
Re-
they're saying you can do whatever you want and learn about weakness, right?
Go on.
Read in bronze or in the scripted
Sculpted.
Sculpted face.
or in the sculpted face of judge and master.
So, I in the Hebrew though, I don't know about the Greek. Ben will have to bring this out, but in the sculpted face of the judge and master, this goes along with how Paul says, "Imitate me as I imitate the Messiah." Right?
Yeah, the sculpted face of the judge. This is something that was regularly done with very powerful figures. Is that they would become a bust and almost a god in and of themselves.
Well, that does go along how with Elohim is translated today as a Greek god. So,
Right. Right.
which I'll be honest, I do believe that translation causes a lot of misunderstandings
Yes, it does.
on multiple aspects, and I'll leave it at that for now because that's a whole nother sidetrack.
So go on.
No bracelet.
Brass slipped.
No bracelet. Trumpets called
Okay,
for
real quick. So, brass has to do with the law, hence the brass plates. The focus is the law, okay? And
Yeah.
trumpets is calling repentance. So they're saying in their ideal mystery Babylon golden age, there's no law and no one calling anybody to repentance because you can do what thou wilt. That is the whole of the law.
Interesting thing is that they keep read that no brass lipped trumpets. What?
called nor clanging swords.
So they immediately associate it with war. The call to repentance with war.
Well, yeah, and then also there's the iron sharpens irons with the cleaning of swords.
Yep.
No one's improving in their mystery Babylon golden age, right?
Mhm.
Which is a twist because in Zion there won't be cleaning swords because they're united, as in they believe in the same thing.
Well, I wouldn't say it's a twist because in a twist, up is still up and down is still down. It's an inversion. It really is an inversion of the reality.
I get your point. I don't know if I quite agree with that, but anyways, I'm fine with inversion or twist. Yeah, I'm not gonna heckle off of that. So
Yeah.
go ahead, Johnny.
Nor helmets marched the streets, country, and tower.
So, if you go back to the armor, yeah, the helmets has to do with about what you think about, protecting what you think about, and the streets are your path.
Right.
So, and the mark on the forehead has to do with what you think about. The path is what you do. So they're saying, just think about what you want and do what you want.
Yeah, so here's something that I have learned over the years. You see, what Mystery Babylon wants is a whole bunch of very open-minded people
Yes.
who, there's no boundaries on what they will accept from from an outside from an authority source, etc., etc.
Well, there is one limit, righteousness.
Right. They extremely open-minded. I have found that if you're going to err on the one side or the other, open-mindedness or closed-mindedness, you are better off erring on the side of closed-mindedness. Because most of the ideas that they're going to put in your head are not in your best interest.
Well, yeah, they're promoting wickedness and they're doing it little by little.
And so, it, but I would say you're better off not erring on one side or the other. Um, but if you were to err on one side or the other, choose the right and be closed-minded about it.
Yeah, and so here they're pointing to the point just before the flood where people could do all this and then got destroyed because of their sins. Okay. And Noah preached repentance for 600 years before the flood came, correct? Or am I?
Yes, he did. And
Yeah, yeah.
including 120 years while he was building the ark.
Yes. Or no, wait, I might be getting some of the numbers wrong. But anyways, Noah preached for a long time because maybe it was 600 when
He
the
was
flood
alive for
came
600. He
and
was
he
alive,
preached 120.
alive 600 years when he went into the ark. He preached for 120 years.
No, yeah, yeah. So I'm remembering some of the numbers wrong a little bit. But anyways, um, but they did not want to hear it. They wanted, so they're talking about their mystery Babylon here, which happened before the flood or the starting the falling the way of the polar configuration. It started with Adam, but it was most severe around the flood. And now this may sound kind of weird, but there is a channel of thunderbolts, and they've done some research on this that there's water on Earth that came from Saturn.
Yeah.
Now, the account of the flood talks about how some came from beneath and some from above. Some that came from above, I do believe, is from Saturn.
It wasn't just rain, folks.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's a whole nother that subject of rain is a weird one. We're not going to get into that. But anyway.
We'll leave that alone. We'll leave that alone.
It's going into
Yeah.
weather technicalities. I don't want to do any of
Yeah,
that.
yeah, we're not going to get into that. But anyways, I'm trying to with Ben bring out some of these perversions that's going on of how they're pushing Mystery Babylon instead of
Yeah.
Zion and the Millennium.
Well,
Okay?
to come off as what Stephen is saying here, ever since Ham and Nimrod's rebellion against Noah, they've been trying to get back to the way the world was just before the flood.
Yes, they were. Which is what this is describing. There's parts of it Ben catches better than I do, right? But I do think the two of us together are doing a good job. But anyways,
Go on.
Had never heard of war. and seasons travailed through the years of peace.
So I mean, this is a perversion. Because they fought with each other because they're all stealing from each other.
This is actually a straight lie
Yeah.
because there was nothing but constant bloodshed just before the flood.
Yeah, yeah.
Well,
I guess in a sense, though, it was just fighting and not war, because war is more country against country.
right. Yeah, that could be a possibility.
And maybe that's how they're taking it, because war has a specific definition that we do need to remember. It's country against country, where they're just fighting neighbor against neighbor, right?
Right, that's true.
And that's not technical definition war,
Right.
because war is more organized. But anyways, that's a minor thing.
Go on.
The innocent earth learned neither bread,
Spade or plow.
neither spade nor ha or
Plow.
Wow.
nor plow.
Though a spade is a shovel and a plow is a farming tool to rip up the earth.
So it is talking about the blessed condition that occurs when the electric alignment is in place and the plasma is flowing.
Yes. Or I'll say I'm meaning the same thing. I'll say it a little different. When the polar configuration there is which causes the electrical flow that makes plants thrive.
Yeah.
And hence, I think it was in the previous quote we let how they would just grow overflowingly on their own.
Yeah.
Which is talked about in millennial prophecies also, right? And modern science has proved this. Keeping in mind the electronic universe model brings out when planets are close to each other, there's electrical flow between them. Okay. And they even bring that out with comets that come. Okay. It's there. It's just not talked about. Okay, go on, Johnny, after the plow.
She gave her riches as fruit hangs from the tree.
So the she here is Earth. Now, to be specific, considering this is Greek, they're probably going to be Gaia, would be the name if I remember correctly.
Ovid is a Roman, but yeah, they were selling Greek thought anyway, so yeah.
Yeah, okay. So well, they all these things have multiple names, so whatever. Sorry.
Right. We'll go with Gaia. It works.
Yeah, I know enough that I'm happy. Ben does know this area better than I do. Okay.
Yeah, we'll just go with Gaia for now.
Yeah, but either way, this is bringing out how the plants are going to easily give their fruits, right?
Right.
Yeah. Go on, Johnny.
This is not the mention of these. The mention of these gods is actually not forbidden. It's actually forbidden to mention them in a state of worship.
Yeah. And on that point, we'll also say when the prophets called out and said, "Don't worship this god," they said the names. They weren't breaking Torah and mentioning them because it's in reverence, as in you're giving heed and worshiping them.
Right.
The prophets in the Old Testament did use the names of the false gods to say don't worship them, and they were not breaking Torah when they said that name. I mean, take everything into context. Don't just take something twisted from somebody on the internet that's not following the whole.
It is unlearned and unstable.
What are you saying?
Yes, very good. As in to quote
Oh,
Peter and how people misinterpret Paul's teaching of Torah. So, anyways.
wait, are you saying it's
Okay.
not a sin to say bow or
No, it's not. It's a sin to reverence Baal.
Me to say the name of a god.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Especially if you're using it especially if you're doing it like you're the reference book.
Well, yeah, and then also even more particular, what the prophets did in the Old Testament was call out the worship of that God. In fact, even in the New Testament too. It's not as common in the New Testament. There's a different focus, but anyways, it's
Yeah,
things changed a little bit. We'll leave it at that. That's a whole nother side subject.
yeah. That's a whole
Okay,
other
move on, Johnny.
before we get too far off side.
Yeah. So I think you're on grapes.
Grapes dropping from the vine, cherries, strawberries, ripened in silver, shadows of the mountain.
Okay, so grapes from the vine, that definitely goes back to wine, and thus the atonement, or the opposite of the atonement, okay, which is probably what actually is here. Um, so
Very little effort being needed for the harvesting, as the fruit would literally fall off the plants, probably because it's so large.
yes, and though on the cherry and the strawberries there is sexual innuendos there that I'll just leave it at that. I don't want to get into. And the silver lining of the shadows is the good stuff of the sins in the context that's going on here on the mountains or hills would probably be a better translation, probably would be an educated guess just because of context. Not that I can see the original language and whatnot, but anyways, just an educated guess. I think hills would be better there.
Yeah, and go on.
And in the shade of Joe, Joe, J- James, miraculous tree,
Joves.
of Jove's miraculous tree, the falling acorn.
So, Ben, do you know Joe's miraculous tree?
This is a reference to the tree of Zeus.
Yeah. Yeah,
So
or I will say Satan's tree.
yes, the tree of knowledge of good and evil.
Yeah, yeah.
It has background to also the Norse's
And
Nephilim.
interestingly enough, it talks about how what falls from it is an acorn.
Or in modern vernacular, would be an apple.
Yeah, or a nut.
Yeah. Well, I'm just showing how the basic themes have stayed the same, even if the phrase of us changes a little bit.
Yeah, so this is a really interesting thing. It shows that they are aware that there was a better time. It shows that they're trying to get back to it, but they
Yeah.
have completely misplaced what made it a better time.
Oh yeah. Well, because they're saying it's their wickedness has caused it, but that's actually what took it away.
Hmm.
Right. In fact, part of bringing it back is destroying the wicked.
Right.
Jove's miraculous tree, in fact, kind of comes from a little bit also from the Norse thing with now the tree of Odin.
No, that is a what you're getting that a little wrong, because Job's miraculous tree was around uh, before Yggdrasil was ever mentioned.
Oh, Yggdrasil.
So, but the main point is, well, we don't know that, but before we have recorded mention of Yggdrasil. But the important thing is that the two ideas coincide across cultural lines. And Odin hangs himself on Yggdrasil to gain wisdom. So he hangs himself on the tree of knowledge of good and evil.
It's Satan's tree.
Now Odin is Satan.
Now, okay, so just so we're clear on, because the knowledge is actually intimacy with good and evil. Okay, just as Adam knew Eve and bore children, it was intimacy. Okay.
Just like Odin had sex with both gods and giants,
Mhm.
good and evil.
Yeah. Yeah. And giants, even in the 1828 dictionary, has meanings other than just really tall people, taller than the Empire State Building. I'll leave a link to um,
Yeah.
the Book of Enoch stuff that talks about some of those details. But Johnny, you want to finish the last sentence?
Springtime, the single season of the year.
So you mean like plants were growing all year long because of the electrical environment that's going on?
And it does seem to indicate that there's only one season.
Yeah, springtime, it's the single season of the year.
Even though the seasons might be considered to be changing, it will not automatically take effect.
Well, no, it's not to the drastic that we have now because plants are growing all the time.
Yeah. So, and so you see, once again, you see that evidence in an ancient society, the Roman society, of knowledge of a time when life was easier.
Yes. Pointing back to the millennium, which they're using to what they want it to be in the future, hence using the past to describe the future.
Absolutely. They're still using that same ancient prophetic technique.
Yeah, here they are. It's not so much nowadays, right? But in the more ancient writings, yes.
Yeah.
And so go ahead and read the other last quote on that page, Johnny.
This is a quote from sacred literature from Hinduism, which it has its own problems. We'll discuss that on a different day.
Yeah.
Men rather bought
No, men neither.
sold.
And neither
No, neither sold.
bought or sold.
Bought or sold.
Okay, go on.
There were no poor and no rich.
Okay, so this goes along with how during the good people, especially Enoch or other righteous that came after Adam, they took care of the poor.
Yeah, but they also couple it with this idea that there cannot be any rich if there are no poor.
Yeah, so that's not true. But some translations of scriptures even say that now because uh, there has to be rich to give to the poor. It's the idea is that you're not extravagantly rich or you're not focusing on your riches. And because you're not focusing on your riches, you're giving to the poor. Hence, sell what you have and give to the poor.
Yes.
It's talking, Yeshua was telling the rich man to do his tithing properly. Okay.
I didn't know that they were using historical meaning to just say, give to the poor.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is it.
And there's nothing wrong with giving to the poor. And there's nothing wrong with there being no poor among them. This is a
Well,
this is a characteristic of Zion.
yeah, well, okay, so we got to be careful with this because Yeshua said there will always be poor among us. So we can't take the statements too far. There there are going to be people who always are going to need tithing.
Right. But the point is, poor, when they're talking about poor, I think they're talking about the quality of wanting.
Yeah, so it's the fact that the poor are being taken care of. Okay.
Yeah.
And the rich aren't being greedy. Okay.
Right.
That means
The
no.
rich are not looking upon the poor with an evil eye.
Correct. And it
And
just, you want to define evil Ivan, or do you want me
Okay,
to?
so in the Hebrew mind, in the Hebrew word that is translated to us in the New Testament, the Hebrew word patterns or the Greek word patterns that translate in the New Testament as the evil eye is actually referring to stinginess.
Yes. And it's defined. Oh, I always forget. I get these two mixed up. I'm pretty sure it's the Psalms, but it could be the Proverbs. But an evil eye is a stingy eye.
Right. So, and King Benjamin actually talks about this. If when you see somebody in need, you say his judgment is just. I will not help him. You've You've declared your own guilt, basically. Um, because
Yeah, you're being stingy there because you're coming up with an excuse not to help them when you
right.
can.
So the facts of the matter are, yes, people contribute to their own misery all the time, but that does not give us the right to contribute to their misery.
So let's not try to.
Well, so one of the things about the baptismal covenant is to comfort those in need of comfort. So if part of their need of comfort is actual basic needs,
Yeah.
just telling them to put their chin up is not going to help them out.
No. Yeah.
You need to comfort them with basic needs
Yeah.
and some wants, but that's another subject. But anyways.
Sorry, there's ain't no greediness, no greedy merchants, no any of that.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah, the yes, that which goes along with the no rich is that it's more no greed.
Yeah.
But
So go ahead.
anyways, go on. There was.
There was no need to labor.
Okay.
Okay, keep going.
All that man required was obtained by the power of will.
As in the plants bore bounteously, so you could just basically your grocery store was walking out your door and
Right.
picking from the plant.
Right. So anything you wanted was right there.
Yeah, for your basic needs, for the most part, right?
Right.
That's what
So,
it's getting at.
so yeah. And now when we look at that through a Greek mindset, we get a different idea entirely, and suddenly we start trying to manifest everything all over the place. And well, it works, but there's a price with it.
Yeah, so that's where it kind of gets to the mixture, the power, the will. So that's kind of how they get the manifestation nowadays, which is completely of Satan. It doesn't work. But here, in the context of Millennium or the Garden of Eden, you just walk somewhere and it's bounteous, so you just pick it because you want it. Your will, your want.
Yeah.
Right there.
So if you don't add the Greek twist to this, if you just take it at face value, you can see what it's talking about.
Yeah. Okay, go on, Johnny, with the chief.
The chief virtue was the abundant of worldly desires.
Abandonment.
The chief
The abandonment.
the chief virtue was the abandonment of worldly desires.
So here they're claiming that people didn't have wants, which that's not true. That's just a lie.
So basically, what this is doing is it is associating one of the primary virtues of Hinduism with the Golden Age. That's what.
Yeah, and Greeks are like this too, and Gnostics. They think the things of the world are evil, and that's not the case.
Mhm. Yeah. So it's not having desires for having desires for good things in life is not evil.
No, in fact, a lot of times that's what helps create good because you want something, you go work for it.
In fact, when we go to the description, the commandments surrounding the Feast of Tabernacles, there is something that tells you to, if you can't bring everything that you need, sell it, bring the money, and buy whatever your heart desires so that you
Yeah.
can feast with joy with Yahweh.
And I'll just tell you that's part of tithing. Part of your tithing should go towards the high holidays, and that's scriptural. But anyways, Now, on what I can to make this a good thing here, which could have been originally based off of that they twisted, the chief virtue was the abandonment of the natural man desires,
Right.
which goes along, can go with worldly. I can see that twist there, right? But the way that the worldly people will use it, or especially the Gnostics, will that you don't desire anything of the world. But
Right.
that's not, it's the natural man.
Mhm. Yeah.
So I can definitely see that twist. I'm sure with this being from the Hindus, that's not what they meant, but I do believe that's where it came from.
Right.
They didn't mean to say that. It just happened to.
No, they meant
Well,
to
they twisted it, Johnny.
They
This
meant
is
to say what they said. They twisted it intentionally.
Oh,
yeah,
they twisted it
they
intentionally.
twisted it.
Yeah. Go on.
It was originally a truth, but they twisted it.
Yeah.
Correct.
The Keta Yoga was without disease.
The Keta Yoga, that is referring to the body. Body is without disease.
Yeah, which goes along what we've talked about the prophecies of the millennium because of the electrical environment that the polar configuration will cause, right? Which science shows. And even modern medical practice, when you get special permission or you've gone through other ways first. So, anyways. Okay, there was
There was no listening with the ears.
lessening, meaning you live to an age of a tree.
Yep. There was no lessening of the years.
There was no lessening with the ears. There was no hatred or vanity or evil, thought whatsoever, no sorrow, no fear.
Now, I mean, I don't know the Hindus well enough, but I can definitely see how this goes along with the prophecies of the millennium and keeping Torah, right?
Yeah. Now, due to its Hindu aesthetic, it's going to be heavily based on the sins being what's going on in your mind as opposed to what you're actually doing.
Sure. Yeah, so
But
I can definitely see how there's a twist going on.
yeah,
But so far, these quotes are all describing the golden age, either from a Babylon idea or which are a twist of the Hebrew scriptural Yahweh way of describing it, right?
absolutely.
Which also points back to the first millennium, which was actually a quote in the previous quote, right? So,
I think the Hindu thing was kind of more close to scripture than the rest of them.
No, it got its own problems.
but they all have their own twist.
Yeah.
Oops, I hit the wrong
I
button.
actually find Herodotus's one to be the least offensive. The first one we read.
Well, they all have their pros and cons. I haven't had time to think about which one's worse or better. So, anyways, okay. So read the myths of China and Japan. The first one on the next page.
Don't bother reading the introductory sentence. Just get into the quote.
And this quote was made in 400 BC, the 400 years before Christ.
It was written for 400 years. Yeah. Go on.
In the age of perfect virtue, there attached no value to wisdom.
Okay, so I mean that's weird, but the age of perfect virtue, virtue is Torah, so this is pointing back to the golden age, right?
Mhm.
And so maybe people, because everybody's nice, no one had to
Well,
worry about. I don't know about to do with that last
other
part. Sorry.
things that you have to bear in mind is the Eastern propensity for no thought.
Okay. Yeah,
It
that's
was
true. Because they're trying to empty their mind, right? That's a good point there. So they think that's a good thing, where Yahweh actually says that's bad. So, but that could be their twist of trying to get rid of thought. I can see that, Ben. Thank you. Okay, go
They,
ahead, Johnny.
yes, they were upright and correct without knowing that to be so was righteousness.
Okay, so they're just saying you do it that well, and that's righteousness right there, which is wrong, but that goes along with Mystery Babylon, right?
Right. But at the same time, if you're thinking about this in terms of the Garden of Eden, did they know that what they were doing in the garden was righteousness, or did they not necessarily know being right?
Yeah, they knew.
Right. Okay.
Adam and Eve both knew it was wrong.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And Eve actually said, I was deceived. She knew it was wrong.
So yeah. So there you go. I was trying to give them the benefit of the doubt.
Well, and just to get a little more, I'll say one other point real quick. She knew that Yahweh told Adam what we're supposed to do, and Adam repeated it to her because even Satan's statements goes along with this. Did Yahweh, did he really say that? Meaning, bringing out how she was taught this, okay?
Right.
She just decided, knowing, showing she knew what was right and wrong, she just chose not to keep what was right, okay?
So once again, so we see here the total error of this idea of thoughtlessness.
Yeah. Okay, go on, Johnny.
They loved one another without knowing that to do so was banana violence.
Benevolence.
What's
Benevolence.
benevolence?
Benevolence. They were
Oh,
honest.
wait, Johnny, I think your dad asked a question.
Well, the main thing is here, once again, if you take off all of these paragraphs, in all these sentences, if you take off the part of without knowing, you're describing an ideal society, a Toric society.
Yeah, without the no, yes, if you take that one part, because,
Take off the part without knowing.
yeah.
Because, by the way, that's just not possible unless you've had a frontal lobotomy.
Well, yeah. Well, this somewhat goes along with how those without knowledge are condemned from Hosea, right? But they're trying to bring out how you are able to love people without knowing how to love them,
Yeah,
which that's not possible.
yeah.
Or unless your memory just clicked
So,
off or
it,
something.
so there. So what this does is it creates this wonderfully beautiful picture of virtue and makes it utterly unattainable.
Well, yeah, because you don't know what it is, and they just think that people are gonna randomly come upon it, and that's not the case. But that does go with the evolution that gets taught mainstream. It's just random. No, there's thought and intention that caused the Earth, and even scientists are coming out more and more of saying this. It's just a lot don't because they're scared of losing their career. They shouldn't be, but they are. Okay. But there's more and more coming out and showing no, even science on the low levels shows that there is intention and design.
Yes, yes. And if more people would come out and acknowledge that, there would not be a fear of scientists losing their job for saying what is true.
Right. But um, science is more of a religion than religion is. I'll just leave it at that.
Yeah. It's no longer science, it's scientism.
Yes, they have agendas that they push, and like I said earlier, it has deal more with Kabbalah, actually,
Uh,
and mysticism. But anyways, moving
that,
on.
that
So
was
Johnny, they were honest.
yeah, they were honest. Yeah.
They were honest and low, low, Leo hearted without knowing. No, wait.
Well, I
Honest.
wonder if that's a typo and it's supposed to be level-headed.
And level-headed.
Level-hearted, because I don't know what leal is, to be honest.
Yeah, moving on.
with without knowing, and we're gonna leave that out, that it was loyalty.
Yeah, you can't be loyal without knowing you're being loyal. I'm
Right.
sorry.
You just can't do it.
Yeah, being loyal is making a choice.
Once again, they're creating this virtue and making it utterly impossible to attain.
Well, and this is, they're trying to make Mystery Babylon look good, right? Is what I see so far, my opinion.
To me, it seems like they're trying to make a brainless stupor look good.
Well, and I think that's what Mystery Babylon is, but anyway. So, anyways, moving on.
Come on, read. Read.
They fulfilled. Wait a minute. Wait a minute.
Yeah, you're right there. You go ahead.
Yeah, I'm fine.
They fulfilled their arrangements
No engagements.
No, keep reading.
without knowing that to do so was good faith.
Yeah, okay. Well, first of all, if faith is trust and diligence. Trusting means you know it. Diligence means you're doing it on purpose, despite what you're being prodded to do otherwise.
How can you do that without knowing?
What the hell?
Yeah, this is. I don't know what to make of that. It's just salad soup, I guess. I mean, word salad.
They're basically enshrining their Shinto Buddhist values into the Golden Age.
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah.
That's what's going on. Shinto Buddhist values being enshrined into the Golden Age.
And whoever brought that up should have been shot in the face outside the city.
Okay, that's
a little much there, Johnny.
That's a little extreme.
There's first of all, they'd have to get judged by a Torah court judge, but anyways, we won't get into there. Okay.
And then I don't think that shooting them in the face is prescribed in Torah.
Well, that actually might be nicer than what's Torah approved, but anyways, let's move on.
Anyway, Johnny, let's go.
So, just on that point, I will say stoning is pattern off of the wrath judgment. Okay, and I'll just leave it at that. So, moving on.
In their simple movements, they employed the services of one another, and again without thinking that they were confirming or receiving a gift.
Conferring, which is giving.
Yeah. So moving on.
So, anyways, here's a lot of this pretending you can do things without knowing that you're doing them, right?
Right. And pretending you can do things without knowing your intention.
Yeah, I'll go with Ben because Ben has studied their religion more than I have. That just makes no sense. But anyways, but they are trying to describe a golden age, twistedly, right? But anyway,
describe a golden age within your particular religious philosophy. This is how you would do it if you were a Shinto Buddhist.
okay, that's a very good way of putting it, Ben. Thank you. Okay, therefore,
their actions left no trace, and there was no record of their affairs.
so no records of the judgments because no judgments were happening. Okay, because in the court in government, you only make records of things that you have to deal with, which are when there's wrongs going on. So they're claiming that Mystery Babylon, the golden age that they're trying to describe here, has no wrongs going on. But when the laws do it thou wilt, holds the law with the fine print, and as long as you're following what your leader's telling you to do, you're okay.
Right.
So now in the Zion mindset is this would happen because we're keeping Torah, and thus no reason to go to a judge, right? But this is a twist of that.
So keep going.
So we can go ahead and read 21, and then you'll have to go into 22 on your own because I don't have that. But go ahead and read that part starting at the bottom.
Which this leads into the quote of D&C Doctrine and Covenants section 101.
Okay, well, we'll get there. First, read the start of the quote because
Start of the quote.
in that day.
And in that day, the enmity of men, the enmity of man, and the enmity of beasts, yea, the enmity of all flesh, shall cease from before my face.
So this is warring. Enmity has to do with hate and war. Okay.
Yeah.
This goes along with the prophecy that the weapons will be made into farm implements, right?
Yeah.
Also, how the lion and the lamb will go together. Now, that's a twisted understanding, which we won't get into. But anyways, and before my face, I don't. Is this? Where's this from, Johnny?
This is Doctrine and Covenants session.
Oh, okay. So yeah, this is the positive. So this is no more war, and animals not fighting with each other, right?
Right.
So
Yeah. The creature is not fighting.
yeah, and before my face is be Yahweh's face.
Yes.
Okay, read the next sentence.
Okay. And there shall be. Wait a minute. Let me get back to reverent behavior.
Okay. Just go on.
And there shall be no sorrow because there is no death.
Now, okay, now this is going to the point where everybody will live to the age of a tree, and specifically going with a quote referring to Isaiah that babies are not going to be dying. Okay.
Okay. So I just want to point out the difference between YHWH describing these things and the word salads that were presented by the learned men of the other societies.
Oh yeah, especially the myths of China and Japan. That one was really word salad.
So when YHWH speaks, he makes it clear for those who are not interested in simply rebelling.
Right, and then and this last sentence we just read really brings out how sorrow happens because people are dying. Although it's hard when old people die, it's worse when young ones die. In fact, for good men would rather die themselves to give their children life to experience. Okay, the big sorrow comes when children die.
Yes.
Because to return to Yahweh, we do have to physically die, but let's do it in our old age, like the age of a tree. Okay.
Yes.
Oh, look, the next sentence even goes along with this. Sorry, I didn't. I really didn't look forward. Go ahead and read the next one, Johnny.
In that day, an infant shall not die until he is old, and his life shall be as the age of a tree.
So that sentence is expounding the previous one, which I just did. But anyways, I really didn't look forward.
After
Go ahead.
making through this mockery over
Okay.
here.
Now, next one. Keep going.
And when he dies, he shall not sleep. That is
Okay, so real quick. So this is going along with if you're righteous enough, because there will be telestial people during this time, and at the end of the millennium, there will actually be sons of perditions. But
There's
this is talking about terrestrial and celestial glory, who will receive the terrestrial and telestial glory. They'll be resurrected in an instant. Okay.
Right. So there is a common misconception out there that there will only be, especially among the restoration branches, so that only people of a certain life quality will be alive during the millennium. I am sorry, you haven't read your Bible.
Well, the fact that it's prophesied in multiple places that the mighty and strong one's going to go doing missionary work during the millennium disproves that.
and
But basically, I would just want to say, I'm sorry you haven't read your Bible, because it talks about in the Bible during the millennium that there will be people who do not come up to celebrate the Feast of Tabernacles.
Yeah, and to be specific, that's Zechariah 14, showing they're not being righteous, and they won't get rain because they're not being righteous. Okay?
and there are some Bible chapters if we want to read them.
But no,
No, no, that's fine.
I think we're good reading from the book for now.
Yeah, yeah. So go ahead and start. That is.
That is to say, in the earth, but shall be changed in the twinkling of an eye,
Okay, there we go. So I just that's just basically what I said, right?
and oh,
It's
and
just amazing how clear it is.
Yeah.
his rest shall be glorious.
Oh, I think you forgot and shall be caught up.
I
And
did be cut off, and he shall be cut off, and his rest shall be glorious.
so rest, that's going to be the sanctified ones living with Yahweh. Hence, celestial glory. Very glorious, okay? To
Just,
the point that if you're not ready for it, it'll kill you.
just like in that period before those who are resurrected in the first resurrection are resurrected, they are assigned to rest until the resurrection, as opposed to those who are not righteous. They're assigned to a state of awful waiting.
Hmm. Yes. So I do believe those are the quotes we want to look at. So this idea of the Garden of Eden and the first millennium is throughout generations, and they use that memory to point to the prophecies that they've twisted of the golden age, um, which all deal goes along with the prophecies in the Hebrew scriptures about the millennium and the condition that the world plants and people will be in because of the polar configuration coming back and the environment it causes, primarily the electrical environment.
In particular,
As a reward for the righteousness of Zion.
in
Yes.
particular, there's Isaiah chapters and chapters in Revelation to talk a little bit about this.
Yeah, but I think those quotes are probably good because there's a lot out there. I even have an unfinished post I need to get back to it
So
gets into a lot of those quotes and actually gives a lot of references for all this science that I've mentioned I anyways, I'll have to try to hurry and finish that post.
So the main thing is that this new heaven, this new earth, the return of the polar configuration. That's what they're talking about.
Yes. It's a mixture of the return of that and how it was in the Garden of Eden with Adam and the first millennium, right? It's a mixture of those two things.
Yeah.
And it was during coming into the second millennium that's when things started to look like where they are right now.
Things are as they are right now because we live in the days of wickedness and vengeance.
Yeah, but along with that, Johnny, yeah, the days of Noah was in the second millennium. That this time gets referenced to it being like, so you're right on that. It's
You're
the
right
days.
on. You're right. was in the second millennium.
Yeah. Anyways, I do think that's a good reading of those secular quotes and showing how they're talking about things that are prophetic from a slightly different angle and pushing Mystery Babylon more than Zion, right?
Yes, absolutely. I think
Which they're both are the golden or the best of those two mindsets, right?
yeah.
You could tell, and then I was laughing when I continued to keep reading in the Chinese one.
Well, it was the Chinese. The Chinese idea is ludicrous.
Uh,
I
yes.
was laughing there.
It's
No,
ludicrous.
okay. Well, anyways, I'm gonna close with that, unless you guys want to say something real quick.
I think that was a good recording. I hope because because the time is getting short, I encourage people to repent and get right with Yahweh. Because all of this stuff regarding the polar configuration, you can know it forwards and backwards. It won't do you a darn bit of good if you're not right with Yahweh.
Yeah, in fact, really, the only one needs to worry about is the mighty and strong one, because he's going to call him back
Yeah, well, and
with his witchcraft without hands, as you go to Daniel 2. That's actually
yes,
what it's saying.
right.
It's because it's the priesthood. That's why it's because witchcraft needs their little hand signs. So, anyways, um,
Yeah,
but so it's good to know to help understand what's going on and being described and how it will be happen, the science behind it. But Ben's right. What you really need to worry about is coming under Yeshua's covering and returning to his Torah, or in other words, repenting.
yeah. Because and that's the thing that everybody needs to be concerning themselves with. Get into the Word, find out those things that you're not doing, change your life.
Yeah. Now, I will say, this is a good book.
Mhm.
I am grateful for Anthony Larsen's research and getting me to start learning about the polar configuration. I disagree with him at times, okay? But it is good research, and I still recommend getting his books. Either you could probably only get them e format now, and even taking his video courses. Even with my disagreements with them, though, they're still good. Okay, it's a good base to start with, and I appreciate the work that he's done that I've learned from to get started on this subject. Okay.
And I would also encourage you to understand that one of the primary areas of disagreement that I have with Anthony Larsen is that he thinks that the polar configuration is all keys.
No,
It seems that way.
I have multiple disagreements. I'll leave it at that. We don't have to get into
Yeah,
details.
but
Um,
it's not every
there's good in what he's done. Take it with a grain of salt, and don't forget what the Book of Mormon, um, and the D&C, the valid sections, teach, along with the new translation of the Bible and the Bible, right? So, I'll
get
just,
into but most importantly, get into the Word, fix your life.
yeah, it doesn't matter how much you know about the polar configuration. If you haven't encountered Yeshua's covering and repented, you're going to suffer 1,000 years. Because even those who come under his covering, the telestials and don't repent, telestial glory, you're going to suffer for 1,000 years.
Ugh.
So, no, I highly suggest coming under his covering and repent. So, anyways, because no matter what you know about the polar configuration, if you're not repenting, you're not the one that's bringing it back. And guess what? You're going to suffer from it while it's coming back, and then when you die, and then you're going to suffer for 1,000 years after you die. So repent. Sorry, but not sorry.
Repent if for no other reason than to avoid suffering.
Yeah, be selfish about it. At least initially. Don't stay that way, but it's better than not. So,
Right.
anyways, we say this in the name of Yeshua, Messiah, Amen. That's a funny one to say that on, but anyways, it is.